Hi everybody, how's it going? Welcome back to the Golden Vendor and the Filer Ul showcases for the 14th of March. So as always, I'll have time codes and timestamps below if you'd like to just jump straight to one thing. So this weekend we've got two shoulders. We've got Ozezan, the Inferno, and Prior Thierric. Now, you know how I feel about shoulders when it comes to the Golden Vendor. I don't think they're worth it just because there's no, DLC or not, there's no, pay-gated issues with getting the shoulders through keys. But if you don't want to get keys, I totally understand if you just have money to spare, you just want to fucking skip straight through that stuff. Both of these sets, I think, are actually really good. Ozezan the Inferno is honestly one of the most underrated group sets in the game. The Minor Vitality isn't too great, because that buff is fairly easy to get from other means. But that armor is unique. It's not minor or major resolve. It stacks with them. So if you can, as far as I'm aware, I don't know how many targets this can affect. I would assume it's 12 or 6. But that amount of people, that is some serious damage mitigation that you can just support your team with. And, comparing this, I think it's worth comparing it to, oh god, what is it called? Baron, no, not Baron. Sorry, Lord Warden from Imperial City Prison. This gives you a small amount of armor and is tied to an area, whereas this armor that you get here isn't. It's very short duration, but as a healer, you're basically just constantly healing your team, and if you overheal them, yeah, you're just getting all that armor. So basically, when they're at full health, it just gives you a little bit of extra reaction time to deal with all the other shit. So I think this is a very good set. This comes from Scrivener's Hall, so it's a very new, quite advanced dungeon to do. But these are shoulders, so the dungeon itself is I mean, it's relevant, I guess, for the helm. But yeah, that's this requires you to have the. God, it's been ages. What the hell is the DLC called? It's like Scribes of Fate, I think it is. Yeah, Scribes of Fate. This one here. Yeah, Ozezan, really, really good. I would only really use it on a healing build, though, because maybe as an off-tank it might be okay, but you got to be constantly healing your team. Also really good for PvP ball groups, which it's not... it kind of annoys me, but yeah, it's also great for there. But it's just great for healing in general. Like PvP, PvE is great for both. So yeah. Okay, so Prior Thierric. Quality is not irrelevant here, which is weird. I checked on if you go Ozezan here, it's still 4272 at gold, whereas with purple it's still 4272. That's weird. I would have thought the quality would affect it, but apparently not. Alright, Prior Thierric. This comes from Red Petal Bastion, another relatively advanced, fairly new DLC dungeon. This is arguably one of the best AoE damage per second sets in PvE, because it's also quality irrelevant again, which is fucking weird. You'd think the damage set would be quality dependent. It's crazy good for AoE fights, but unless you're doing leaderboard runs, that's probably not going to be a huge thing, because there's plenty of other monster sets that do just fine damage for AoE that are best for bosses, which are mainly the thing you want to be dealing with well in PvE, trials and stuff. But yeah, it's very, very good for AoE. The only thing is PvP, wouldn't really recommend it because the AoE is very small. Same thing for PvE. There's you gotta really, your tank's got to be really good at stacking enemies for the AoE to hit everything. So just keep that in mind. Yeah, for PvP, players will see the AoE on the floor and just walk out of it. They're not they're not NPCs in PvE. They'll see it and walk away. So yeah, probably not great unless you can really, maybe you can get one of those pull sets and you just perfectly time it with that. But yeah, that's another thing entirely. So wouldn't really recommend this in PvP. But PvE, very good. Okay, so on to the jewelry. So we've got Jorvuld's Guidance. This is a set that comes from Skullcrawler Peak. It's a light armor set. arguably one of the best healing sets for PvE meta builds. There's a setup that people run they call it Rojo, R-O-J-O. So it combines Roaring Opportunist with Jorvuld's Guidance. And the reason for that is Roaring Opportunist, this gives one of the best sets, like one of the best buffs. You get Major Slayer for a very long time. Basically cast a high cost ultimate and you get it for a very long time, and Jorvuld's will extend this duration by a pretty significant margin. Probably one of the craziest interactions with this, with Jorvuld's and with Roaring Opportunist, is the ultimate from Alliance War support line, Barrier. Increase the shield strength of this by like 40%. It lasts a very long time, and you get Major Slayer for that time. So your whole team is very tanky because they've got a huge shield. They're very, very high damage dealing. So with Major Slayer, it just gives everything you need for your team in PvE. This is, I think, a no-brainer. Like, you really want this set. The only thing is, Skullcrawler Peak is fairly old, and the quality is not relevant to how much you get from it. It's still 40% at blue quality. So I think if you've got the DLC, just do the dungeon, because it's just, you don't need to gold this set out. Like, gold it if you want to do like leaderboard runs, but other than that, wouldn't really worry about that. If you've got the DLC, just do the dungeon, because normal, it's not too bad. You could probably solo it on normal fairly easily these days, but I don't know. Like, you'd have to have a fairly decent damage dealer for that, but yeah, it's totally doable. So yeah, I just personally just get the jury from the dungeon itself. Moon Hunter. This is a light armor set that comes from, if you can believe it, Moon Hunter Keep. Wow. Okay, so this is, the 2 to 4 piece is great for damage dealing. Unfortunately, the 5 piece kind of sucks. The reason for this, that's a lot of weapon and spell damage, right? But 8 seconds, the cooldown for poisons, it has a global cooldown of 10 seconds, so you can never have this at full uptime, and poisons are very unreliable. If I just go find some poisons in my inventory, so 20% of all light attacks, heavy attacks, and weapon abilities. It'd be good for, it'd be an okay set for like, again, AoE stuff, because you just put down something like Stampede, 20% chance to apply that poison from like 5 enemies. That's a bunch of chances. It'll probably fire off in a couple of seconds. But on a boss, on like a single target boss, it's not really going to be that relevant. And there are just better sets for getting that kind of damage anyway, that just don't have like a limited uptime. So yeah, I wouldn't really go through the effort to get this. It's also light, which makes it better for solo play. Group play, I think medium's still usually what people run. But yeah, in that case, like, do you really want to warrant going through all that effort in solo play for stuff that you can just get much easier? I don't think so. So yeah, I wouldn't really use this. Also, the quality is dependent. I should point that out. So golding the jury is better for this, but again, just not really something I'd rather gold the jury for, because it's just so hard to use properly. Also, I should point out, poisons aren't really used in PvE anyway. They are used a little bit in PvP, but like, you don't, I don't think you use it as much for like offense. You use it for defense stuff. So, well, I mean, like, you use it usually on your back bar. Front bar's usually got enchant. So yeah, not all the time. PvP is a bit weirder, but yeah, I still wouldn't really use it there either. Alright, so next up we've got Flanking Strategist. This is a medium set that comes from Overland in the Gold Coast. Now, this is, in a little earlier I would have been like, it's a DLC, but now this is free. You can access Gold Coast and do Dark Brother and all that at base game, which is really nice. Flanking is okay. The only problem is the 2 to 4 piece is okay. The only thing is that maximum stamina. Yes, it's fine on a medium armor stamina build, but like, stamina compared to crit chance and weapon and spell damage, you don't get as much value out of it. So the 2 to 4 piece isn't the best, and it's okay for group play and PvP. Like, PvE group stuff, and PvP ganking is pretty good too, because yeah, behind or their sides, like sometimes in PvP, after you do the gank, they like turn around and it's very hard to like get to their sides then. And if you do solo play, bosses will almost always be facing you, unless they do like a specific mechanic and you can turn around. But there's like very few instances where that's going to be the case. And when it comes to like higher tier PvE stuff, there's just going to be better sets. Like 400 weapon and spell damage isn't all that amazing anymore. It was pretty good back in the day, but yeah, nowadays you've got all the crit sets and all that shit. So, and all those like really powerful proc sets. So I wouldn't really use this in any case, usually, because there's just so many other better things. Also, it's worth noting that there's no easy way to get jewelry in Gold Coast, because there's no incursion type events, which you usually get them from in like the overland, like the major overland zones. You can only get it through chests and coffers, which is really unreliable. So yeah, that's also another thing, I suppose. That makes getting the gold jewelry not too bad, actually. Also, the jewelry has the physical harm enchant, which is really unusual. Most sets don't have this when you pick them up, so that's interesting. Because yeah, you can see these ones here, they've got arcane. These ones here, they've got they've got recovery as well. So that's fucking weird. That's very unusual for a set that you can just pick up. Yeah, I wouldn't really recommend this anyway. And then we've got Shalk. So, oh sorry, I should have mentioned. Did I say the quality's affected by this? So blue stuff has like the 300s weapon and spell damage. So yeah, I suppose that's also important. But yeah, again, wouldn't really use it. Shalk. This one is a Stonefalls Overland set. It's the heavy set there. The 2 to 4 piece is okay. Stamina, comparing health to stamina, like, sure, it won't give you any damage, but if you want to be a little more tanky, just slightly more tanky, if you want to have a little more time to react, then I suppose damage sets with an health bonus is okay. But if you want to use, like, for proper PvE damage dealing, you always want 2 to 4 piece to just be crit and weapon spell damage. But the problem is the 5 piece. Minor Heroism is just not good enough to warrant just like wasting an entire 5 piece. Remember, you light attack to get like 3 ultimate a second, I believe. So that's just, it's not a lot. It's just like 1 ultimate. Comparing things like other ways to get ultimate, like decisive, you usually get more. Just like classes usually get their own ways to get ultimate. It's just not enough, I think. It's also heavy armor, so as a damage dealer, it's not great. It's okay for PvP, I suppose, because you do want heavy armor there. But for PvP, I think you should look at something called Corsair, Daring Corsair. This gives you the same buff when you cast a weapon ability, which is pretty common in PvP and PvE, I suppose. Every 8 seconds. I don't know if you'll keep it up that much, but it gives you the same minor heroism, and it also reduces the cost of weapon abilities, which is also great. And it also gives you recovery, which is a good buff for PvP. So I don't think Shulk is useful at all, because you can just craft this anyway, so you can just have it in whatever slots and like weapons you want. So yeah, Shulk isn't good in my opinion. It's outdated as hell, even with its extra weapon and spell damage from the 5 piece. Sorry, last thing about Shulk is the quality is not really relevant again, because minor heroism is a named buff. You can't increase that by increasing the quality of the stuff. But also just keep that in mind. Right, let's have a look at the leads for Fala Ul. So we've got, sorry, one of them is a DLC I don't own, so it's at the bottom all weird here, but Refracting Stone Crucible. You get this from Infinite Archive, ironically, from the chests from Gwr the Pilferer, the little game thing that comes up in bosses, and the Marauders, which is quite stressful. So this is for the Apocrypha Jury crafting station, which is cool. But it's ironic because if you end up buying this for 5,000 archival fortunes, the odds are when you go back into Infinite Archive to collect more fortunes to spend on these leads and stuff, you might end up getting it. So I don't think it's worth it buying this unless you've got 9, like the other 9, and you need this one as well. Because if you're looking at these leads and stuff to buy them with the fortunes, you're probably going to be doing Infinite Archive anyway. So I guarantee, like fucking Newton's third law of bullshit, you'll buy this and then do the lead, and you'll end up getting the lead again when you go back into Infinite Archive. I fucking guarantee it. So yeah, I don't know. It's up to you if you want to take that gamble. I wouldn't. Also, there's just other easier jewelry crafting stations to get usually. Like this, the one from the just using like root vouchers and stuff. So yeah, Frog Metal Buckle. Firstly, this comes from this is for Sirvain's Ward, which is not a very good mythic in my personal opinion. Sirvain's Ward gives you sorry, mythic here. So it gives you when you block, you can't move, but you give your team health recovery. A fair amount of health recovery, and they increase their block mitigation. There's the times where this is going to be valuable to your team compared to other mythics, especially, is like there's not a lot of times where I think this is going to be really valuable. Like comparing this to like just using, I don't know, something like giving a team barrier, for example. Like it's just, I don't know, it's not really going to be relevant. I don't think there's many mythics that give you like the ability to buff your team like this though, so I don't know. But that health recovery is just not much. And there's not really many times you're going to be your team's going to have to like block a lot of damage unless you're like doing not a very good job, or one of the other tanks isn't. I don't know. The only thing is that 12 meters is quite large. But yeah, I don't think this mythic is worth using unless you're like really struggling with trial content. But there's just I think there's other ways to resolve those issues. So yeah, you get this from, the other thing is you get this from blacksmithing writs, right? It's like one of the most straightforward things to do. I just wouldn't get this, because just like do blacksmithing writs. You need like, you know, on new characters, like level 7 is when you unlock it. You only need like a few iron ingots to do the very basic blacksmithing writs. I don't know if you get higher chance to get it on high level blacksmithing writs, but like, I don't know. Unless you're just somehow really unlucky with getting these writs and you really want Sirvain's Ward, maybe. But this is probably one of the least valuable 5,000 archival fortune spends in the game, I think. So yeah, whether you want that, I don't know. But I personally wouldn't get this at all. Okay, so for the scripts, we've got Brutality and Sorcery, Uncertainty, Ethics, and also the... I've got the Pull Focus script and the Signature script, War Mage's Defense. Uncertainty just reduces the weapon critical of your enemy. Do be aware that this is not relevant for PvE, only PvP, because in PvE, fun fact, enemies cannot critically strike, so it's not really going to be relevant there. But yeah, pretty probably good for PvP. But yeah, whether or not it's worth using as opposed to other things is just, I don't know. War Mage's Defense, this is a good option. Damage shields are always usually relevant. Just be aware, Contingency used to be used for like specific shield builds, but the cost of that got really like crazy mega nerfed. Like it's like 50% or some shit, I think. So yeah, there might be some builds that suggest that. Just watch if you end up using that build. Yeah, Brutality and Sorcery, fairly straightforward. There's a lot of other ways to get this buff, so whether this one's relevant is up to you. But you could put this on something like, you could put it on Banner and give it to your team, so that might be nice, but yeah, it's not too relevant, especially since you usually get that from like potions or like most of the classes have the buff in some way. Masterlock Mask as well as the current one. Lair of Masterlock is such a fucking long dungeon. So if you don't want to have to end up getting this through like the Undaunted limited time events, yeah, that's fair, because yeah, the dungeon's so fucking long. There are longer dungeons now though, like the new ones are crazy, but yeah, Masterlock was crazy at the time. Companion equipment weapons, this one I don't think it's that worth it compared to other purple quality stuff. Purple rings and purple medium armor, especially if you can get that in aggressive, they're usually the more expensive ones. Weapons tend to be quite cheap, most of the weapons anyway. So yeah, that might be a bit of a gamble getting something like this. And yeah, it's bound on pickup, so you can't sell them anyway. Oh yeah, what else? Oh, it's a slop trough. You know what I think this thing would say? Thanks We're slopping by. Good lord, kill me. Okay, so we've got... Yeah, you've just got the regular pet stuff that you normally get from Infinite Archive. So I've also got a floating a proper bookcase, which is pretty wild. Don't know what's going on at the bottom here. Is that supposed to be like hidden? I don't know. We've got you've got the revealing flare orange skill style. We've got the one of those like cool like natural wooden tables that looks like, or maybe it's like mushroom. I'm not sure. And yeah, just the regular books, and that's kind of it. Was there anything else to talk about? Galen treasure maps, not really relevant. There's not much you can get there. Might be like a furnishing lead that you can get there from, but then yes, don't really usually get the treasure maps anyway. I just buy them usually. I think that's it. So yeah, if there's anything I missed about any of the sets that you think is worth talking about, or if you've got any cool stories with them, I'd love to hear them. So chuck a comment in if you know any of that stuff. But that's all for this video. So yeah, any questions, or if there's anything I also like got wrong, or if I missed, also just chuck a comment in. I'm happy to, always happy to learn. Oh, there's a fucking book on my foot. Okay, so yeah. Oh, my foot's missing. Christ, this place is weird. Okay, so thanks everyone for watching. Thanks for your support as always. Wish you all well. Have a good weekend, and yeah, I'll see you next time. The Gone Pursuit stuff is still on the way. I got sick this week, so I just haven't really had much good time to do it. But yeah, take care for now, everyone. I'll see you next time.